then our specific focus for this album quest is episode 255, round 2, group 30. And, you can tell this is going to be a wild one just from the name he gave it.
Right.
Chris Rea heads straight down the yellow brick road to the Hotel California.
It's a perfect title, a masterclass in genre collision right there.
It really is. It perfectly illustrates the random grouping process that's so central to this entire project.
It does. I mean, you have 4 albums here that span decades.
Yeah.
Different genres, everything from early 70s rock opera all the way to 21st century electropop.
All fighting for just 2 coveted spots in round 3.
Exactly. And for you, the listener, this group is a perfect microcosm of the stakes. It shows you just how brutal this quest can be.
Okay, so let's lay out the combatants in this high-stakes throwdown. First up, we have Straight No Chaser by Mr. Hudson, a relatively recent entry. Then Hotel California by the Eagles, an undisputed classic.
Of course.
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John, which is, an acknowledged masterpiece.
A magnum opus, for sure.
Yeah. And finally, Dancing with Strangers by Chris Rea, a definitive 80s blues rock veteran.
The field is just brutal. I mean, you have 2 albums there, the Eagles and Elton John, that most critics would easily place in the top 100 albums ever recorded.
Without a doubt.
Their presence alone raises the bar impossibly high. Then you have this highly respected, technically brilliant European blues artist in Rea.
Right.
And then the true wild card, the tight, catchy, and, very modern electro-pop of Mr. Hudson.
And this is where we get to the core mission for our album quest analysis today. We need to analyze Greenstarox's specific criteria to understand the stunning outcome.
It is stunning.
We have to figure out why 2 absolute classic masterpieces advanced. That's the Eagles and Chris Rea, while Elton John's universally recognized opus, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, was eliminated.
And not just eliminated.
No, that's the amazing part. It was defeated by the much lesser-known, you could almost say relatively lightweight, electropop album from Mr. Hudson.
Right, so this is a battle of historical weight and artistic ambition.
Versus immediate personal enjoyment. And we are going to dissect the victory of the latter.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's unpack the structure of this long-running, really ambitious album quest. Before we get to the rankings for this specific group, we have to grasp the underlying framework.
You do. The rules are everything.
The entire endeavor, as meticulously documented by Greenstarox, operates under a set of rules that are, they seem simple on paper.
Deceptively simple.
Right, but they create these incredibly high-pressure situations for these records.
The rules are the engine of the project's magnificent subjectivity. First, as we said, albums are grouped entirely randomly.
Which ensures that genres and eras clash spectacularly, just like we're seeing in Group 30.
Exactly. Then the author ranks them from best to worst, based purely on his personal judgment and his listening experience at that moment.
And the consequences are final.
Completely final. Only the top 2 albums qualify for the next round, in this case round 3. And the bottom 2 are instantly eliminated. Forever removed from contention for the title of Best Album of All Time.
And that elimination is truly permanent, which is why the stakes feel so seismic when an album like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is on the chopping block.
Absolutely.
But there's a crucial detail here we have to emphasize. We are in round 2.
Yes, this is so important.
Every single album in this group has already successfully navigated an earlier, tough elimination round. They've already proven their merit. They've proven their high standing within the author's massive personal collection.
That fact is vital context. These aren't 4 random B-list contenders he just pulled off a shelf.
No.
They are all winners, or at the very least survivors, from highly contested round 1 groups. This tells us Greenstarox considers all 4 of these albums to be among the absolute strongest in his collection.
So the competition in round 2 is, well, it's essentially a battle of favorites.
A clash of titans from his perspective.
So, with that in mind, let's trace their journeys. Understanding the competition they already vanquished in round 1 helps us appreciate just how much quality was packed into this round 2 group.
Okay, so starting with the eventual winner of this group, Hotel California by the Eagles. This album secured its spot by just dominating round 1 Group 60. It placed first, easily.
And who did it beat?
Well, this is the thing. Consider the field it had to defeat. This is not a gentle grouping. It beat Ariel by Kate Bush.
Wow, okay.
Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park.
Why is it giant?
And Kick by INXS.
That is a staggering stylistic mix. I mean, you have Kate Bush's progressive, almost avant-garde art pop.
Right.
Then Linkin Park, representing the absolute explosion of nu metal that defined the early 2000s.
The generational touchstone.
And INXS with a peak 80s arena rock classic. For Hotel California, a laid-back 70s country rock album, to finish first in such a diverse and strong field. It suggests that Greenstocks doesn't just like it.
No, it's more than that.
He considers it to be a perfect, fundamentally flawless piece of music that transcends genre boundaries entirely. The standard it set coming into this round was almost unbeatable.
It suggests that for him, its craftsmanship is just. It's undeniable, regardless of what you put it up against.
Okay, next, let's look at Dancing with Strangers by Chris Rea, the kind of surprise second-place qualifier here.
Right. So Rea's album qualified from round 1, group 79, where it placed second. It advanced over some very specific, dedicated acts.
Who were they?
Schubert Dip by EMF and SMPTE by Transatlantic. But, and this is interesting, it was actually defeated for the top spot in round 1.
By who?
By Color of Spring, by Talk Talk.
Ah, okay, so that qualification journey gives us a key insight right there.
It does.
Chris Rea was strong enough to survive a grouping that included a niche, progressive rock supergroup in Transatlantic and an early 90s alt dance act, EMF. But losing to Talk Talk's atmospheric, subtle masterpiece, Color of Spring, shows that while Greenstocks loves Rea's virtuosity, he perhaps prizes the deep, textural moodiness of Talk Talk just a little bit more.
It's a different kind of brilliance. Rea survived, but his invincibility was already tested by a deeply emotional, atmospheric 80s peer. He came in with a loss on his record, so to speak.
Okay, then we tackle Mr. Hudson's Straight No Chaser. Now, this album is the true dark horse in terms of global generational recognition.
Absolutely.
Yet, its round 1 performance was, frankly, astounding. It qualified from Group 168, and it placed first.
And look at the field it crushed. It was a historically significant field. Solitude Standing by Suzanne Vega.
A classic.
Urban Hymns by The Verve.
Okay, I still can't get past Urban Hymns being crushed by Mr. Hudson in round 1. That is a monumentally significant scalp.
It really is.
Urban Hymns is often considered the defining Britpop album of the late 90s, with anthems like Bittersweet Symphony.
An absolute monolith of an album.
And the third one it beat.
Smells Like Children by Marilyn Manson.
So for Mr. Hudson, a tight electronic pop album to finish first ahead of an undisputed classic like Urban Hymns and the iconic Suzanne Vega record, it tells us that Greenstocks has a profoundly deep, almost contrarian personal connection to Mr. Hudson's work.
It must be the case.
The sheer immediate gratification of that electro-pop record, which we'll get into later, it must be overwhelming for the author.
And this is the context that makes its eventual victory over Elton John feel less random later on.
Oh,
it's not a fluke.
No.
Greenstocks has already demonstrated a willingness to prioritize highly catchy modern pop over widely acknowledged, historically significant rock albums. There's a precedent.
Finally, we trace the path of the eventual elimination shocker. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road by Elton John.
It qualified from round 1, group 128, placing second. It advanced over the new age electronic sound of MCM XT-AD by Enigma and the intense power metal of Valley of the Damned by Dragon Force. But, crucially, he was defeated for the top spot in round 1 by Curtain Call by Eminem.
Wow. Okay, this is a critical piece of information.
It is.
Elton John's opus had already been judged in round 1 to be second to a hip-hop compilation, a greatest hits album.
Right. And this compilation, while it has some of Eminem's biggest hits, is still a best-of collection. It's not a singular, unified artistic statement like Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road.
Not at all.
The fact that the author prioritized a collection of aggressive, contemporary hip-hop tracks over a sprawling, multifaceted 70s rock opera tells us something very important.
It tells us that Elton John's invincibility, based on historical reputation, was already highly questionable in Greenstocks' mind. The cracks were already showing.
Exactly. So we enter round 2, group 30, with 4 albums that have already proven themselves highly regarded, but they all come with a slight vulnerability, a little asterisk next to their name.
And when these diverse heavyweights collide, the clash of genres and personal taste becomes so intense.
It inevitably leads to a truly shocking ranking.
Okay. The moment of truth has arrived for round 2, group 30. The final rankings are in, and the 2 albums that advance to round 3 are number 1, Hotel California by the Eagles.
No surprise there.
And number 2, Dancing with Strangers by Chris Rea.
A little more of a surprise there. Let's start with the top spot. Hotel California, that masterpiece of laid-back classic country rock, secured first place with what the author described as a stroll through the group.
Just a stroll. The reasoning is simple, direct, and it speaks volumes about the author's primary criteria. He seeds timeless appeal and legendary tunes, but the ultimate praise, The phrase that perfectly encapsulates why this album won is the assertion that there is not a bad note on this album.
And that sentence, not a bad note, is the secret handshake of the Greenstocks methodology.
It really is.
Consistency is not just highly rewarded, it is often prioritized above peak ambition. When you look at the tracks he cites, Life in the Fast Lane, Wasted Time, The Last Resort, New Kid in Town, and of course the monumental title track. This is an album that maintains an unwavering level of quality. It flows perfectly. It doesn't ask the listener to wait through structural filler or difficult experimental moments. There's no fat on it.
It's the definition of sonic cohesion. Hotel California uses the same basic palette, that crisp production, flawless musicianship, Don Henley's distinctive voice, from start to finish.
It's a very consistent sound.
The high points are massive, but critically, its lowest points simply do not exist in the author's opinion. It secured its top spot because it represents the safe, flawless, consistent choice in subjective album quest where structural fatigue is clearly a massive penalty.
A penalty we'll see applied very harshly later on.
Exactly. But the more complex and frankly more interesting victory is the second place qualifier. Dancing with Strangers by Chris Rea. This 1987 effort secured a strong second place, and it's described as a superbly crafted record that is musically top-notch. I find the author's note that it's fairly playful compared to most of his back catalog particularly illuminating.
I agree. Ray is often associated with a deeper, more introspective, even melancholic blues sound. He can be quite serious.
Very serious. So here, he's perhaps hitting a sweet spot, delivering his signature blues virtuosity, replete with beautifully arranged guitar licks and melodies, but with an accessible, upbeat energy that lifts the entire record.
And the author gives us this wonderfully detailed, almost anthropological deep dive into the album's emotional core. He specifically focuses on the opening track, Joys of Christmas.
Yes.
And this segment of the review is where the true subjective criteria of the quest shine brightest.
And this is where the specificity makes the analysis so rich for us. Greenstocks explicitly clarifies, no, not the ubiquitous classic Driving Home for Christmas.
He has to make that clear.
Right. He's talking about this other fundamentally different song. It is unironically labeled Joys of Christmas, yet the author immediately labels it the most depressing Christmas song ever.
That paradox. It speaks to a profound honesty in Rea's songwriting that Greenstocks clearly responds to.
Yeah.
He loves that juxtaposition.
It's a slow-tempo narrative piece, focusing on the stark reality of the working class in the north of England during the holidays.
Right. So there are no sleigh bells, no traditional joyful Yuletide messages, no cheer. It completely subverts the traditional expectation of seasonal music with a raw, stark reality.
But the reason this track, and consequently the album, secures second place and defeats a legendary rock opus lies in the musical structure and the ultimate emotional payoff.
It's not just about being depressing.
No, it doesn't just wallow in narrative gloom, which might put off a listener who's looking for something fun and tight. Instead, the narrative gloom serves as a dramatic launch pad. The song eventually morphs into what the author calls a virtuoso blast of blues guitar.
That structural mastery using deep, thoughtful arrangements and realistic lyrical content to build anticipation for genuine, electrifying musical excellence. That is clearly what elevates this album above the highly ambitious, yet, in his view, inconsistent Elton John record.
It demonstrates a mastery of mood, pacing, and delivery.
And he backs this up. He notes that the entire first half of Dancing with Strangers is considered the most sparkling stuff.
He mentions the original version of Windy Town.
And the sumptuous Curse of the Traveler. This speaks to an album that delivers both emotional depth and consistent, rewarding technical brilliance. It was just strong enough to secure its spot against the sheer perfection of Hotel California and the ambition of the eliminated contender.
Which brings us to the part of the show that I think provides the most insight into the subjective nature of this album quest.
The eliminations.
The unexpected eliminations. This is the truly shocking result of Round 2, Group 30. Elton John's iconic 1973 double album, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, lands at the absolute bottom. Fourth place.
Fourth.
Defeated not just by the Eagles and Chris Rea, but by the electropop of Mr. Hudson.
The magnitude of this elimination is just immense. I mean, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is almost universally regarded as Elton's finest work, his magnum opus.
Absolutely. It's packed with legendary genre-defining songs.
Yet Greenstocks, the sole arbiter of this quest, allows its status to just crumble under the weight of his own listening preferences.
It's crucial to note, though, that the author acknowledges the brilliance first. He doesn't just dismiss it.
No, he's very respectful.
He starts with effusive production praise, recognizing the technical excellence of the 1973 recording, calling it gorgeously produced. Elton, he notes, sounds superb, swaggering across the breadth of this album.
He even expresses awe that it was recorded in 1973, a full 3 years before Hotel California, which makes its quality even more astonishing for the time.
So the historical importance, the technical quality, the high points, they are all acknowledged and celebrated. But here is the structural flaw, the Achilles heel for this monumental work, as stated by Greenstocks. The author finds the sprawling double album format a challenging listen.
And that phrase right there, a challenging listen, that is the ultimate subjective barrier.
It's everything. We are not talking about flawed songwriting or poor production. We are talking about commitment.
Exactly. The album's length and ambition, its very definition as an opus, is what ultimately sinks it. Greenstocks is clearly prioritizing a tightly edited, consistently compelling experience.
And Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, by virtue of its ambition and length, simply doesn't meet that specific criterion for him.
This raises an important question, though, and one we have to challenge Greenstocks on. If we prioritize consistency, doesn't the relatively safe genre choice and moderate length of the Eagles album automatically penalize ambitious, sprawling albums like Elton John's?
That's a great point.
Is Greenstocks inadvertently confusing safe perfection with best of all time? The commitment a double album demands often defines its legendary status. Should that historical context be discounted just because he personally struggles with a few tracks?
Well, I think the sources suggest Greenstocks' answer is a decisive yes.
Unfortunately for Elton, yeah.
In this quest, immediate personal enjoyment and flow override historical ambition every time. Let's look at the incredible songs the author does recognize as excellent. It shows his internal conflict. He mentions the iconic trio, Candle in the Wind, Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, and the title track. He also praises deeper cuts, like I've seen that movie too, and harmony.
So he knows the quality is there in spades.
Absolutely. And we have to talk about the opener, Funeral for a Friend Love Lies Bleeding.
The 10-minute epic.
The author calls it majestic and sweeping, with an excellent riff buried among the swirling arrangement of ideas. That riff, buried within the shifting time signatures and complex synthesis of the instrumental opening, it sets a high, ambitious bar.
But that very ambition, that commitment to a 10-minute-plus track merging rock opera with straight-ahead rock establishes the challenging listen immediately from track one.
What's fascinating is the author's own changing feelings. He explicitly notes that the album has grown in stature for him over the last 10 years.
Right.
Specifically mentioning his growing appreciation for All the Girls Love Alice and Benny and the Jets, which he saw performed live in 2006.
So this isn't an author blindly hating an album.
Not at all. This is an author who has genuinely tried to connect with it, who has struggled with it, and who still, at the end of the day, finds it structurally flawed.
And despite that effort and growth, the album still falters for him. The personal struggle is detailed further when he lists the specific tracks he is still struggling to fully appreciate.
He even makes a direct apology to Elton fans while naming them.
Which is a nice touch.
It is. He calls out, "Dirty girl, your sister can't twist, but she can rock and roll, and this song has no title."
These are, perhaps unfairly, the filler tracks that ambition sometimes demands. In a single album, they might be forgiven. But when they disrupt the flow of a double album, they become magnified weak links.
That is the ultimate revelation of the subjective album quest philosophy. When it comes down to comparing 4 highly rated albums, those few tracks that disrupt the flow, the moments where the double album format feels unnecessarily expansive, are enough to sink the whole ship.
The perceived challenge of the listen just outweighs the acknowledged genius.
And what was the tight, immediate record that secured 3rd place and sealed Elton's fate?
Straight No Chaser by Mr. Hudson. And Greenstocks' justification is the ultimate rebuttal to the double album format. He says, when given the choice to listen to either Straight No Chaser or Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, I'm going to choose Mr. Hudson most of the time.
Wow. And the reasoning is the direct inverse of the Elton John critique. Mr. Hudson's album is preferred because it is a fun, tight, little Latin pop album with melodic ideas that seemingly burrow inside your head.
It's effortless.
It doesn't challenge the listener. It simply delivers immediate, highly catchy hooks, utilizing contemporary production to maximize enjoyment.
This preference sets up a crucial philosophical clash within this very group. It's one that needs to be fully explored.
What's that?
We have the blues rock organic arrangement, championed by Chris Rea, who secured second place, whose album contains a track titled I Can't Dance to That.
Right, I'd forgotten about that. That title perfectly frames the traditional, often critical sentiment towards electronically produced music.
It does. It reflects the sentiment that electronic music can be soulless. Chris Rea, the blues virtuoso, represents the older school where the human element, the spontaneous guitar lick, the organic arrangement, that's supreme.
Yet, Mr. Hudson's electropop, which makes liberal use of auto-tune and digital beats, not only survives this group, but eliminates a rock god.
But Greenstarox doesn't dismiss Rea's sentiment. He provides a strong, necessary defense for high-quality, modern electronic music.
What does he say?
He points out that a lot of progress was made in the 20 years between these two albums. Dancing with Strangers is from '87, Straight No Chaser much later.
A lot of progress is an understatement.
Right. He asserts that some bang and dance numbers have been created digitally in the intervening period. This suggests the author judges electronic music on its contemporary merits and its production craftsmanship, rather than just dismissing it for its synthetic nature.
So this is a debate about texture and method, not quality.
Exactly. Straight No Chaser put up a respectable challenge by utilizing what the author calls clever production techniques in tracks like Supernova, Everything is Broken, and Anyone But Him.
This isn't just about catchy melodies, then. It's about the digital mastery, the use of synthesized bass lines, chopped vocals, and precise rhythmic programming to create a dense, modern, and highly immediate soundscape.
It's a statement. It's a statement that high-quality, modern pop production and catchy, immediate melodic structure can easily trump the inconsistent structural ambition of a classic rock epic.
So the triumph of Mr. Hudson here is the triumph of pop efficiency over sprawling rock ambition.
It is. He offers a consistently fun and tight listen, which is a stark contrast to the work required by Elton John.
Okay, let's synthesize everything we have uncovered in round 2, group 30. The final rankings are just a study in contrast.
Oh, really are.
Number 1, Hotel California, flawless consistency. Number 2, Dancing with Strangers, virtuosic payoff. Number 3, Straight No Chaser, pop efficiency. And number 4, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, the structural challenge.
The genre juxtaposition is just phenomenal. We had laid-back classic rock, deep 80s blues rock, early 70s rock opera pop, and modern 21st century electropop.
That dramatic variety confirms that Greenstarox's entire album quest is driven entirely by subjective preference and personality.
Completely. It has very little to do with adherence to critical consensus or historical weight.
And the defining lesson of this group is the absolute triumph of the fun and tight criterion over the challenging listen ambition.
Without a doubt.
The immediate appeal of Straight No Chaser, its pure, unadulterated melodic effectiveness and lack of structural commitment, was enough to overcome the recognized artistic weight of Elton John's opus. The author's priority is crystal clear. Immediate, consistent gratification is the highest reward.
And that standard is reinforced by the winner, Hotel California. It succeeded not just because of its well-known songs, but because the author deemed it to have not a bad note.
Right.
It represents the perfect listening experience for Greenstarox, one that requires no skipping and presents zero structural fatigue.
So what this means for you, the listener, for the learner, is a deeper understanding of subjective criticism in the age of information overload.
Yes.
Greenstarox's quest mirrors modern listening habits. Finding an album challenging or admitting there are tracks you struggle to fully appreciate are fatal flaws in these subjective rankings, regardless of the album's historical significance.
We can connect Greenstarox's behavior, the structural fatigue, the need to skip tracks, to wider debates in music consumption today.
How so?
The streaming generation often prioritizes immediate gratification and flow. The concept of committing 80 minutes to a sprawling double album, especially when a few tracks disrupt the pacing, can feel anachronistic.
Out of step with how we listen now.
Exactly. So Greenstarox, whether intentionally or not, is applying a contemporary value set, brevity, efficiency, and flawless consistency, to hours that were designed for a different era of consumption.
The moment the author admits he has to skip a few tracks, or feels weary halfway through a massive album, that album is inherently disadvantaged.
It's cooked.
The quest is designed to find the best album of all time, which translates here to the one the author enjoys listening to most, start to finish, without any interruption.
And if we look at the quest philosophy as a whole, it consistently rewards flow and immediate engagement. Hotel California provides perfect consistency. Straight, No Chaser provides immediate, high-quality digital hooks. And Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, for all its genius, demands an editorial commitment from the listener that Greens to Rocks was simply unwilling to give.
Especially not in the face of such consistent competition.
Exactly.
So round 2, Group 30, closes with the Eagles and Chris Rea proceeding to round 3, and the truly shocking elimination of Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
It's a definitive victory for consistency and immediate satisfaction over ambitious, sprawling masterpieces.
And it sets a terrifying precedent for future albums in this great ranking. You can be a masterpiece, but if you're a long masterpiece,
You're in trouble. We saw an acknowledged opus praised for its gorgeous production and historical swagger, yet it was critically eliminated because the double album structure and a handful of perceived weak links made it a challenging listen.
it's a harsh lesson.
A harsh but transparent lesson in how one person's subjective criteria can overturn decades of critical consensus.
It really makes you wonder, given that Goodbye Yellow Brick Road was praised extensively for its sound and its ambition, but ultimately defeated by its length and a few specific disliked tracks, what specific criteria, consistency, flow, or maybe just sheer brevity ultimately determines the best album of all time in this ongoing personal album quest?